Welcome back to Premier League predictions. It is time for week 2. Liverpool, Man City and Arsenal all putting down statement victories in the opening weekend, and Chelsea, champions of the world, dropping points. We're going to talk about all of that in the upcoming predictions, but real quick, thank you so much because 500 of you subscribed from the first week's episode, and it is actually the most viewed Premier League prediction video that I've ever made in 7 years on the channel. So sincerely, thank you so much for that. If you do want to see Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, Champions League videos, then be sure to subscribe down below and join us on the road to 50,000 this year. I had to say that at the start of the video because I've never seen a response like that to one of my videos, and it really means a lot. All of your comments, everything. And let me know if you want me to do this in every video, but I'm going to do a comment of the week, and this one's a rogue one. I'm going to shout out Tom Story, who left a comment saying that they think the first game of the season should be the Premier League champions up against the Championship champions. So in this year's case, Liverpool up against Leeds. Now, what do you think about that? It's almost like a Community Shield-esque Premier League fixture. It's an interesting thought, but in my opinion, probably doesn't actually work because realistically the gulf between the Premier League champions and the Championship champions is probably such that the Premier League champions would always get a relatively easy win first game of the season. But let me know what you think in the comments. The first game of the week takes us to the London Stadium for West Ham up against Chelsea. West Ham and Chelsea, both big talking points over the first game week, both failing to score. Chelsea with their 0-0 draw against Crystal Palace, and West Ham suffering a 3-0 loss to newly promoted Sunderland. So this is going to be a very important game for both teams, but you'd have to argue more so for Chelsea. They've already dropped points essentially in what could be a 4-team title race. You never know. And like I said at the start of the video, Liverpool, Man City and Arsenal all getting their wins in sort of different ways. It was really quite interesting. But I think Chelsea are going to win this one. This screams to me a Chelsea win. Just like last season. It was September last season and Chelsea were not likely favourites to beat West Ham. I tipped them to win in the video and they were like 3-0 up by half time, and I could see something similar happening here. The Graham Potter derby, if you want to call it that, the Frank Lampard derby. Chelsea to win 2-0, and the tip is going to be Chelsea half-time, Chelsea full-time at 2.6. Real quick, you have I think 2 weeks left if you want to enter into the $100 giveaway draw, like everyone flashing up on your screen that is supporting me over on the Patreon. You get exclusive members tips and accumulators. You can message me directly. Even if you come up with the bet yourself and you want a second opinion, my opinion, then you can message it to me. I've done that before. Please click the link down there, join us, and one of you will be winning $100, and you of course get a shout out in every single video. But moving on, we have Manchester City up against Tottenham. Now, as I said, Liverpool, Man City and Arsenal all won their opening game weeks, but the odds actually went in favour of Man City and Arsenal to win the league, and the odds of Liverpool to win the league went down slightly. And a lot of people were confused by this because Liverpool won. Why are the odds changing all that much? Now, here's something you need to know about how the odds work. Money moves the markets. So basically, the wins for Man City and Arsenal sort of signified a positive, and the win for Liverpool actually changed people's perception a little bit and somewhat signaled a negative. Man City's 4-0 demolition of Wolves made people think, okay, Man City are the real deal. They really are that good. We now think, as a collective, the general consensus is an improved opinion on Man City's chances. Arsenal the same, but for a different reason. They didn't play their best against Man United. Man United actually probably played a little bit better than Arsenal. They just couldn't score. So being able to win that game at Old Trafford, unlike they were able to do, or they weren't able to do last season, improved people's perception of Arsenal. Liverpool, however, whilst they emphatically scored 4 goals, they suffered a bit of a scare, conceding 2 to Bournemouth, which shows their defensive frailties in the same way that it did in the Community Shield final against Crystal Palace. Or Community Shield, it's not really Community Shield final. So, people's perception of Liverpool, albeit a good win, has gone down a little bit because there's that defensive frailty there. It does have to be said. So very interesting, very intriguing, and we kick it off with a big one. Man City up against Tottenham. Now, obviously, Tottenham, as far as percentages go and teams playing against Man City, they've probably got the best record against them in the Premier League. However, I don't think they're going to win here. Tottenham beating Burnley to 0 was a given. I predicted 2-0 in the last video and I tipped Tottenham and under 3.5 goals above evens. They won it. That is a standard Tottenham result. There were rumblings, people expecting Tottenham to maybe bottle it. It just was never going to happen, okay? Man City battered Wolves. I, again, said it would be 2-0 to Man City. It was 4-0, but I tipped Man City -1 handicap at 2.1 because the odds were just too massive. And what do you know? They won 4-0. I do think the hoodoo is gone. There's something about Tottenham under Thomas Frank that actually makes them seem a better team, essentially, than when they were playing under Ange Postecoglou. But they don't, I feel, have that shock factor, perhaps, that Ange could get on his day, particularly against Manchester City. I know Tottenham, like I said, have had a good history of taking points off Man City, but I just feel like this is not the time for Tottenham to play them. I think Man City will get the better of them, and quite comfortably as well. So I'm going to say that Man City win 3-1, and the tip is going to be Manchester City and both teams to score at 2.62. Again, I would not be surprised if we see a Man City -1 handicap here. This could be a 2-0. This could be a 3-0. Tottenham, decent. Could they make it 2-2? Sure, why not? But I'm going to say that Man City get over the line. As an Arsenal fan, I love a draw. I don't care about any sort of animosity most Arsenal fans have with Tottenham. I mean, I don't like them necessarily, but I'm not going to say I want Tottenham to lose just so Man City can get 3 points. I don't feel as an Arsenal fan that we have to worry about Tottenham with regards to the Premier League titles. So anyone that can take away points from Man City and Liverpool and Chelsea to an extent is good for me. So I'm open for a draw. I think Man City win this one. After this, we have Bournemouth up against Wolves. Bournemouth, Semenyo, what a game he had, but ultimately they fell prey to Liverpool's relentless attacking pressure that always sees them score late. In the same way Arsenal are super high up the charts for scoring from set pieces, I'd imagine Liverpool are right at the top in terms of goals scored after the 75th, 80th, 85th, 90th minute even. Late goals, that's what Liverpool do. That's what they did to Bournemouth. But I think Bournemouth can bounce back with a win here. Wolves, they're not awful, right? And Man City is a hard fixture, but away to Bournemouth is not easy. And I'm just going to shade it to Bournemouth here. I'm going to say 2-1. The tip is Bournemouth to win at 1.8. After this, we have Brentford up against Aston Villa. Aston Villa, they didn't really create anything against Newcastle at all, but they were down to 10 men for vast majorities of the game. So I think given that, if you told a Villa fan those circumstances, they would take it. So Brentford, on the other hand, got battered by Nottingham Forest. They were 3-0 down by half-time, and things are looking a little bit bleak for Brentford. So I am going to go for an Aston Villa win away from home to get their first win of the season, 2-1, and I really like the odds. Aston Villa to win at 2.15. After this, we have, I mean, could you call it a 6-pointer with Sunderland in the Champions League spots? I don't know, but I'm going to say it. It is a relegation 6-pointer as early as week 2. It's Burnley up against Sunderland. I looked at this matchup and I immediately went for my score prediction. I then looked at the recent history only to find that the previous 2 meetings between these 2 teams at Turf Moor ended this way as well. So it kind of validated my initial feeling there, and it's going to be a 0-0 draw. The tip is going to be under 2.5 goals at 1.61. Sunderland could nick it, but this is where I'd err on the side of caution. The recency bias is going to be so strong. Burnley lost 3-0, Sunderland won 3-0. You're going to have a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't have done last week lump on Sunderland to win. Let's just take a second, okay? Sunderland had a really good first week, but let's not go mental. I don't think Sunderland are going to go and win this one 4-0. All right, so I'm going to say 0-0. I think a draw is fair. Sunderland might prove me wrong, but I could see Burnley winning it, so I'm going to say 0-0. After this, we travel to the Emirates for Arsenal up against Leeds. Leeds, whatever you think about the penalty, contentious or not, I know his arm was down by his side, but I do agree to the point where if you're leaning your body, you could argue your body isn't, like, if you're leaning with your body so that only your arm hits it, down by your side or not, the lean sort of puts your arm in an unnatural position to a point. If that makes any sense. Like, if he didn't lean into the ball knowing his arm would hit it, I don't care if it was down by his side. You intentionally know he's going with his arm to make himself wider, keeping it down by his side. If he's not moved and the ball struck an arm by his side, he cannot get out of the way. That's fair. But he's trying to block it, isn't he? And it's hit his arm. So yeah, I was happy with it, to be honest. You just got to be consistent with it. But Leeds, ultimately, I think, deserved the win regardless of the penalty, so fair enough. And Arsenal, I tell you what, I was not particularly comfortable watching the game. I had a funny feeling we'd score from the corner because it was our first corner of the game. Man United, it's just the kind of funny thing that happens to Man United. But I thought Man United played pretty well. Their new signings, Man United actually looked threatening. And I said it in my video last week, the Premier League predictions, that maybe since Man United had made a bunch of those new signings in the transfer window, my opinion shifted from it being like a bad time to play Man United for Arsenal, in the sense they're not match sharp on the first game week, to a good time, because Man United, I think their new season or their new signings will only gel better with the team and they'll only get better. And we managed to catch them a little bit cold, because there were green shoots there for sure. I saw lots of positives as far as Man United were concerned, that they're going to have a better season than last season, and their new signings look threatening. I was a little bit nervous sometimes when they go forward. Luckily, Arsenal have a very good defence. I've seen some people say Man United were robbed. I wouldn't go that far. Arsenal defended well. That's what Arsenal have been renowned for the last few seasons. So in that sense, I think Arsenal deserved the win, but Man United were also unlucky not to get a point. I think those same two things can be true at once. So Arsenal not playing great and winning at Old Trafford is amazing. And I think they're going to go to Leeds. It's going to be a much more open and expansive game. I'm going to say that Arsenal win this one 3-1. I will say Leeds score, because I think we're going to get an early goal, and that just opens the game up a little bit. And the tip is going to be over 2.5 goals at 1.53. After this, we travel to Selhurst Park for Crystal Palace up against Nottingham Forest. Palace drawing with Chelsea, having that disallowed goal. Again, call it controversial. And Nottingham Forest, demolition job of Brentford. This one I found really, really difficult to predict. Again, like when I'm not totally sure on the result, I don't tip in the result market, but I am going to pick a winner. I'm going to shade with the team that beat Liverpool in the Community Shield and picked up points at Stamford Bridge. I'm going to go for Crystal Palace to win 2-1, and the tip is both teams to score at 1.8. Will Eberechi Eze be playing? I'm not so sure. It seems that talks are very, very advanced with regards to his move to Tottenham Hotspur. Maybe this would be his last game in a Palace shirt at Selhurst Park. You never know. But Palace to win 2-1, both teams to score at 1.8. After this, it's Everton up against Brighton. Everton in their new stadium, and Brighton, they were winning against Fulham, and then they conceded a late equaliser to make it 1-1. And Everton, they were drawing 0-0, and then they conceded that late penalty to make it 1-0. So I think this is going to be low scoring, but I do think each team can land a punch. So this goes perfectly with my highest odds tip of the week. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, and the tip is going to be both teams to score and under 3.5 goals. Everton and Brighton does not look like a 3-1 fixture to me, or a 2-2 fixture. It just doesn't. It does look like a 1-1 or a 2-1 nick it at the end. I mean, it could be a 1-0, but I think both teams to score at under 3.5 goals at odds of 3 is really, really good value. Now, after this, we travel to Craven Cottage for Fulham up against Manchester United. Fulham, I mean, they got that late equaliser against Brighton, but I think this is going to be actually a step too far. I really liked what I saw from a non-biased perspective. I thought Man United were decent in the first game week, and Arsenal's defensive solidity aside, I was going to say solidarity, both of which are applicable, but that aside, Man United conceded the goal due to a goalkeeping error, you know, and some people are saying he was fouled. He wasn't. I think it was Mason Mount who was wrestling with Saliba and kind of almost pushed Saliba into the keeper anyway. Like, it was not a foul. If that's a foul, to quote a very popular meme, the game's gone. Like, I think it's a very valid goal. They made that clear, the PGMOL. So we move on. But Man United, there were positives there. And I think they're going to win here against Fulham. I'm going to say 2-1 to Man United. And the tip is Man United to win at 2.25. Can you believe it? Man United to win. Now, the final game is a huge one. It's Newcastle up against Liverpool. It's the Alexander Isak derby. And it's all kicking off. Essentially, Isak put out a statement. He doesn't want to play for Newcastle, blah, blah, blah. But Newcastle have since responded last night saying, look, we want the club to be happy. We want the player to be happy. We want everything to go well. But as of right now, the conditions for the sale of Alexander Isak have not yet been met. So if they don't get what they want, they're not going to sell him. I'm really intrigued just to see how this will go. And all I care about is that whether Isak is going to Liverpool or not, is that it takes long enough that he's not in a Liverpool shirt by the time they play Arsenal in the next game week. Alternatively, he is in a Liverpool shirt, but because he hasn't been playing for the last month or two, because he's been complaining, he plays and stinks up the gaff and Arsenal win. You know what I mean? So either way, this game, I think Liverpool are going to win. I think Newcastle's heads, they're gone. Everything's just a mess. They don't have that striker. They'll be playing Anthony Gordon up front. And I just think Liverpool are a better team anyway. And I think Liverpool are going to win. I'm going to say 2-1. And I like the odds of Liverpool to win at 1.95. They're such a good team. And also with the Isak thing, how well Ekitike has been playing up top. Liverpool are probably like, hey, we've offered 120 mil. If you don't want that, Do we really need 150 million to spend this summer when we've got Ekitike, when we could get Isak in January next summer? I don't know. I think Liverpool are going to win at odds of 1.95. So many exciting fixtures to look forward to this week. So if you did enjoy this video, please do drop a like, subscribe. Let's see if we can get 35,000 subscribers by the international break. That is going to do it from me, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.